Newsom, thank you. First partner, Jennifer Siebel-Newsom, thank you. We are so honored to have you here. We are so honored by your presence, of course, on the day when you take the helm of the great state of California. Thank you. You know, I really do believe that this is a time in California history that is unparalleled, possibly since the days of the gold rush. And we know that having you and your bold, brave leadership here in California will deliver for all Californians. Thank you. Speaker Pelosi, thank you for your decades of mentorship, but most importantly, for setting an example of leadership for all of us. Democracy, as we have often discussed, is always a work in progress. And having you, the first and second Californian back in Washington to represent this country and the world will help to remind everyone that California values are exactly what underpin this great burgeoning economy. Thank you. My friend, Governor Granholm, Dolores Huerta, distinguished members of the legislature, members of Congress, honored guests, Betty Yee, because I didn't hear your name from back there, our wonderful controller, members of the inaugural committee, our sponsors, so many friends, thank you. What an honor it is to have this room filled to the rafters with friends and family. Thank you to all the tax bankers, precinct walkers, informal advisors, of which there were many, social media mavens, and everyone on Team Eleni who put your name behind this campaign for a better, stronger California. Of California is a Greek goddess in Roman form. Romans called her Minerva, but she's much more famously known from Greek mythology as Athena. She is there on your program in full battle dress, armed with shield and spear, breastplate and helmet. She is ready for the fight, but sitting in repose. She looks out toward a calm bay, teeming with masted ships. Beyond these ships, she looks with hopeful anticipation toward this state's glorious bounty and future. Eureka, she says, I have found it. She sees the majestic, breathtaking, natural beauty of California. There are two primary things that Athena represented in ancient mythology. One is strength, and the other is wisdom. As she looks out toward the Pacific, she's poised to defend our pristine shores. You can almost hear her say, no new offshore drilling. Incoming chair of the State Lands Commission, it's now my job to join her in the fight to protect our environment and keep our unique and world-renowned beaches healthy, flourishing, and clean. And as to wisdom, I'd like to say something about that as well. Civilized societies recognize that the path to wisdom is through education. The path to wisdom is through education. And this is very personal to me. Many of you have heard me tell the story of my grandmother, Katarina. My grandmother never learned to read or write. I often imagine how agonizing it must have been for her to let my father leave the village at just 14 years old to travel to America. He was alone, had little money, and he spoke no English. After a long journey, he landed in Lodi, not very far from here, where he went to school and worked in the fields as a farm worker. Life was hard, but to him, he had landed in paradise. Unlike his homeland where Nazi soldiers had taken residence in part of our family's village home, here there was no war, there was no fear. And unlike the rocky soils of Greece, California soil was, as he often said, like soft cake that didn't require taking out the stones one by one before planting the crops. People he met were generous and kind, and he worked his way to Sacramento State College. Tuition at that time was $62 a semester, including books. He was able to pay his way through college working as a waiter, sometimes as part of the catering staff in the governor's mansion. Think about that, $62 a semester. One job, no loans. How else could he have gone from the fields to the classroom? When California's master plan for higher education was written, our leaders knew that there is no greater investment in the future of our state than education. When we throw open the doors of higher education to anyone in this state who seeks its benefits, talent will find its way. As your Lieutenant Governor and in my role as UC Regent and CSU trustee, I am committed to expanding access to affordable public higher education here in our state. It's wise. Yes, okay. It is wise, it is smart, it is the right thing to do. And it is most important now as we face the rapidly changing digital economy. Our economy in California is now the 5th largest in the world. And in business and in government, in my experience, this is what I've learned. Education, economy, they are closely connected. For every dollar of public funds we invest in higher education in California, we get $4.50 back in increased tax revenue and decreased costs of services. As a businesswoman, I take that deal all day long, and so should you. Our 114 community colleges, 23 Cal State universities, and 10 UC campuses, including 5 hospitals, together make up the most powerful system of higher education in the world. We have so much to be proud of. And we have so much work to do so more students can attend a 2- or 4-year college, so they can pursue their passions, train for a good paying job, and do it without bankrupting their families or amassing crippling debt. As you've heard, I traveled across all 58 glorious counties of California, listening to people, listening stories, and when it came to higher education, I heard some things I'd like to share with you. In Stockton, I heard about a 2-year-long wait list for a welding class at a community college, and mostly men waiting patiently and eagerly to take that class because they knew that that training led to a good paying job for them to be able to support their families. When I was in Mariposa, I met a grandmother. She told me with tears in her eyes about her grandson. He was living in his car while going to a UC, but she said, you know what? He's only got 1 more semester and he is going to do it. He is not going to stop until he gets his degree. And of course, we all heard last year the staggering statistic that 32,000 students qualified to be admitted to the CSU system were turned away because there was no room. We have so much talent. And as the world sees solutions to its most pressing issues, climate change, poverty, transportation, homelessness, cybersecurity, we must invest in our institutions so they can produce more engineers, more scientists, and more innovators, and avail to them the global opportunities that leverage their ingenuity and creativity for the benefit of our state and the world. During my tenure as a United States ambassador, I had a window into many, many things. And one of them was this. I saw how others saw us. And what people see of America is still that great shining city on the hill. Yes, we have our moments, we have our challenges, but we are still the last greatest hope on earth. And more, that vision of America that people have is the vision that California is delivering. So let us continue to use the wisdom and strength of Athena to work together to confront our challenges, to use her shield to protect and defend our values, and her spear to point the way to a better, stronger California. And now, let's get to work.